why? Because it was finally it took all that shit that we went through on and off camera, and it was, whatever, long season, because we had all the COVID breaks, and we filmed for like almost 5 months. It was long. And in the end, it was like we finally trusted each other. Like, you're not coming for me, I'm not coming for you. You see me, I see you. And that's why all of that heavy-handedness that I think people felt I led with during the season was to get to that place that we did get to at the end, which was, this is me. And I really want to be accepted or rejected from this group of women based on the truth of that. What's the saying? I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not. That was really important to me. And it's important to me in all my spaces. So I think we ended up in a wonderful place, and then the machine started. And I think it got the best of us as a collective.
So, like, when you were filming, could you tell the machine was working? Like, when did it first?
No, I had no idea. I mean, it might have been, it probably was.
Like, you didn't feel like, wait, like, Ramona is or Leah has an agenda, like camera time.
No,
and I'm gonna make you look. I
was so unaware of that. Yeah, I was in the mind. Now, also, this is where I have to laugh at myself. And I don't take myself as seriously as people make it out to be. Sometimes I'm like really, really silly and naive. I was really in it, and not to say they weren't. Some of them were too. At various times. Some more so than others, obviously. But no, I really took that shit at face value, and was so unaware of what was to come by way of the press. Go back for those that are just like listening to this, like,
right, like, what are these two talking about? Like, what? Like, huh?
Go back and watch What Happens Live that aired after the season premiere. And all 5 of us were there virtually with Andy. And all of the women said, when asked, Eboni was an amazing addition. She fit in so seamlessly, so easily. It was just all amazing. And I felt the same way. Like, not that it hadn't been hard at points, but like, this is so great. We were really, because that was before the season aired and people were being reacted to and all the shit started. But when it came to, this is to me like evidentiary proof, if you will, right? Of what I'm saying in this conversation, you could take it to the bank. The conflict, where me and each of my colleagues are at this point is a 100% complete result of the airing of the show and everything that happened after that. It had nothing to do with our season. Because when we finished and we wrapped and Andy was like, oh my God, this is great. And it was just all good. Which goes to show you how much it wasn't about the season.
You were even good with Luann?
Yes! Wow. Yes! Luann, when Luann's sweet baby Astor passed over the summer when we wrapped, not that I'm special in this way, but I just happened to take the lead on making sure that we as a cast ordered her flowers and sent them to her in Sag Harbor, and she received them and was very nice to all. Like, no, we were all good. It was only after the airing of the episodes and the audience reacting and the press reacting and that feeling very threatening to each woman in her own capacity, me included, right? That then it really became, I really don't fucking fuck with you because of a dynamic around what you might be costing me fiscally and persona-wise. And that's what I think is true about what Carol is saying. It is not about, I don't like you because of what happened at lunch in Sag Harbor. That ain't it. Right. It is all about the show and the positioning and the money and the stakes.
So I agree with all that. So when did that, right, so to watch what happens, everyone's thrilled.
Good.
So when
everybody,
did
in their individual press interviews, which I wasn't even a part of, they would say, Ramona, Lu, Sonia, all of them, obviously Leah too, but different with the OGs because they're really kind of the guard that is the threshold of acceptance for a veteran franchise like this. Couldn't have been greater. They were all like, she is magnificent. She is a fantastic fit on this show. And it goes from that to where we are now, which is polarizingly different. And the answer as to why is quite obvious. And I get it, by the way. I don't take this shit personally. Because I am on this show all season long, essentially. Actually, no. I'm gonna restate that. Up until we got to Salem, on this show, and then again during Black Shabbat. Now I want to talk about Black Shabbat because it went in a direction that I didn't even intend it to go in, which is very interesting to me. Up until Black Shabbat, I'm challenging these women, and not just these women. Who I'm really challenging, David, is the audience. I'm challenging our society. Because that's what I've been doing since I was 16 years old. Let me be very clear. Like, I have a bachelor's degree in Black Studies, for God's sakes. I'm not new to this. This is not a result of George Floyd. You know, like, I was reading the autobiography of, you know, Malcolm X and the slave narratives of Frederick Douglass at 7. Wow. Like, this is me. I'm a nerdy Black academic. Literally. And that's who Bravo cast on the show. And they had their choice of the most exceptional Black women in New York City. So put a pin in that. So anyways, I'm challenging my castmates, though, because that's who we're talking about for the sake of this conversation, around their very personal and public views on issues of race and culture and social consciousness. And while in a certain capacity and context that could be acceptable and even very good, in this very public nature, what they saw when the episodes aired, I think they had appreciation for it, actually, in real time, to some extent.
You do, like, you don't think, like, Ramona was uncomfortable, Luann?
I think that there, of course, yes, in real time there was uncomfortability. But then there's these glimpses of, and I thought it didn't get enough attention, where you see Ramona in the season say, and she's getting ready in the bathroom with Sonia in the first Hamptons trip, in Ramona's own charming way, you know, I never thought about what it might be like to be the only white chick in a group of friends. And, you know, Eboni is dealing with that. And, you know, that's something to think about. And that's what I was going for. It's just that moment of reflection, David. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to make Ramona and Rosa Parks.
It's like, that is a revelation for Ramona, right?
Yes, and that's fucking important to me. I think that's the progress that changes the world. I really do. I think that's an indicator of what is possible when we do the hard fucking work and kind of push those that we care about and believe in. And even in that fucking, you know, scene that everybody kind of, you know, had a reaction and cringed to of me and Ramona's, and Ramona almost ran out of her own apartment. You see me say, Ramona, I don't think you're like this fragile, weak bitch. I actually think you're quite intelligent, and I think you have capacity for consciousness and growth and a level of progress here that you're not giving yourself credit for. Right. And you see her kind of admit it, because she's like, I stayed up on the Google and I found out the EJ Walker bitch is CJ Walker, but you're getting close. But you're getting close.
She made an effort. She made an effort.
And I'm really very serious. That effort means something to me. And so that was really where we were going. You even see Luann, and some of it didn't air and some of it did air after the Sag Harbor and the Angry Black Woman. You know, I think Lu did sit in that and say, you know what? I still don't quite like agree with the way you handled it, but I can own some of my shit. Like, that's beautiful shit to me, David. That's beautiful humanitarian growth. And like, that's the power of what happens when we like push each other in loving ways.
Right.
But none of that nuance is going to make its way to the airing of a 44-minute show, which I get. And I think I totally underprepared for the very kind of binary way in which it would be received by our audience and the press. And I think the women felt, you know, that I was consciously or unconsciously trying to make them look a certain way, whether that was look racist or look ignorant or look that. No, that doesn't benefit me. You know, my benefit is those moments I just shared with you, David. Those moments of reflection and growth, and how I even was really vulnerable in those first couple of episodes, saying it's been since high school that I've sat in a group of all white social circles and white women friend groups, because that's not unique to RHONY season 13. That's life. Most all of us are in racially homogenous social circles, or sexually oriented homogenous social circles, or geographically homogenous. That's the nature of sociology. So what we did in season 13, adding a black woman for the first time in 13 years, it's a sociological experiment. And so people saw that play out. Which is what
Housewives is in general.
In general. But you add that notion of a red-hot, searing, nerve-pushing element of race in America in the peak of this racial reckoning that we're still very much in, okay? And people lost their shit. People couldn't handle it.
People lost their shit. Now, look, because I mean, I was there, but you were there. Like, you lived it.
I
so,
lived it.
like, so everything's great after Watch What Happened. So what, like, when did it start to change? Was it, like, people, was it the media saying, hold on, the ratings are bad?
Yeah.
Like, was it the people watching that are like, whoa, this is heavy? Or was it, like, your castmates saying, wait, she just did an interview and she said what?
Yes.
Thinking that you had some agenda and, like you said, like...
Let's start with the last... all of the above.
Right? Because, I mean,
100% all of the above.
Because somehow this turned somewhere.
Yes. No, and agree. And it took me a while to, I've had, like, 9 months to figure it out, put the pieces together. All of the above, but let's start with what you ended with, because that was, I think, the big ticket item. Was me doing press interviews that, again, I'm taking at face value like an idiot, and I'm just talking to them like I'm talking to you. Like, this is, a nuanced, deep conversation and da-da-da-da. And then by the time it's edited down for, a 250-word whatever, my castmates are pissed. They're like, what the fuck? You thought I didn't recognize your humanity when your grandmother died? And I'm trying to explain, well, yes, and let me tell you why. It's not an indictment of you. It's me saying, because of America's history, culturally, black people, for instance, enslaved blacks, let's go back to our history's origin around this, when we were put on the auction block and sold away from our family members and our babies and our mothers, we were literally beaten for crying. Literally. Because that was too much of an exposure of our humanity. And the whole point was, we're beasts and we're animals, we're not human. So that's not far removed from the way you see a lot of this notion of the strong black woman, right? This trope of the strong, and that I very much am working on. So when you've got Ramona and myself, not Ramona, when you've got Leah and myself both having dying grandmothers at the same exact time, the women literally transitioned and died within a week of each other, and you've got Leah responding in a very authentic way to Leah, which was a lot of tears and emotion. And you've got me literally holding it in. The day my grandmother died, I didn't even tell the women. Right. Because I just didn't have a social conditioning that felt that was okay to do. So I'm stoic. I'm at work. I'm like, but we got a show to do. That's real. And then for Ramona to say, back in the Sag Harbor episode or whatever, like, well, Leah's getting away with being a bitch basically because her grandmother